but naps.
Occasionally, yeah, go get a
Sometimes we
snack.
get a continental breakfast. You know, that's all we ask.
Continental.
Morning.
Good morning.
She is, she's working from home, she's no longer.
So much.
So you will get out. So the person you want to talk to goes to. It's
Yeah, you all can speak. I mean, the questions are about design, so, you know, it's probably best that your architect be the lead, but you're all welcome.
Before filling out these cards, you gotta sign that.
You don't need to fill those out, that's for members of the public, should there be any, there probably won't be any.
We just have one item today.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
The other ones were,
All the other ones are deferred.
oh, I thought they had been.
They've since in the last few days,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So does Liam, does he go? What's the actual? Liam.
What's his actual?
Well, we have it as William on,
That's exactly, yeah, but
that's his first name.
pretty good, right?
Why?
Why he
It's
didn't,
not weird.
Huh?
why he didn't.
I've never, huh? I've never asked him, but I just.
He'll tell you it's a long story.
Oh.
I mean, how could Williams.
So nearly,
Oh.
puts it in parentheses.
He's William.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I gotta get the scoop. Yeah, I never thought about Liam as an abbreviation for William.
If you look at his signature block, it got William
Yeah.
in parentheses.
Okay, interesting.
It must have been his nickname.
Yeah, they must have been.
He likes people to call him Liam as opposed to William.
Yeah. That's fine. Alright, so we're waiting on.
I don't know if I have Lewis, but we have enough people. So I think we're good. Yeah.
Alright, we'll go ahead and get started. This is the Design Advisory Committee. The purpose of the committee, y'all's architect isn't here yet, right?
Yeah, part.
Okay, well, we'll do kind of the perfunctory stuff. So just so y'all know, this is a committee of the City Planning Commission. It is created under the zoning ordinance to provide advices to the design of new development in certain corridors. Or it is one of the corridors. It has representatives of city department. So for roll call, present are city planning, capital projects, HDLC, and parks and parkways. So we do have a forum. All right, so First item of business is to adopt the minutes of the October 15th meeting. Is there a motion to accept or amend? Okay, motion seconded to accept. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against, say no. Motion passes. All right, so items. Yeah. Item 2 is no longer needs to be considered by the DAC. It is being handled at staff level, so that's 3800 Texas Drive. Item number 3, which is for 1228 OC Bailey. The applicant has requested deferral to the next meeting in December, so that is deferred. Similarly, item 4 for 29028 South Norman Street, Francis Parkway, Xavier University is requested for deferral to December 17th. That brings us to our only item, which is item 5, 5601 Bullard Avenue. We have Glenn Harris as the contact, and you all are here for that, of course, as well. It is for a design review of a drive-through restaurant with over 100 feet of frontage in the CP Quarter Transformation Design Overlay District. Bria is the City Planning Commission staff who's handling that. You want to give a quick? So she'll give a quick overview, and then we'll just throw it to y'all.
Okay, I'm somebody along.
Okay. Okay. Great. No. You know what?
There might be across the hall.
Pieces.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Different.
Thanks, Julia.
Really not with me, when it's really tight.
About what?
Give me a bunch of sleep.
Oh. No offense to that. Hey.
Hey, good morning.
And we're on item 5, which is 5601. The ones before that one got withdrawn and the other 2 were deferred. So, all right. So, Maria, you want to give an overview of the one Boulevard project?
Yeah, this request is for design review for in this part for 4.5 for the first one. In the CT for the overlay district, sorry. The CT overlay district is intended to promote development that is safe and attractive for the bicyclists and compatible with surrounding residential areas. The applicant's requesting construct drive-through restaurants, that was previously approved, reviews of we which offer proposal of a retail center which established for use. The current proposal requests the development of additional parking, moves the addition of a secondary structure out of scale and character physical uses as well as residences, sorry. After reviewing the request, staff has determined that the request cannot be approved, that it is parking and vehicle dominant and is compatible to standards of the CT. Further, the size of the proposed structure is adequate for the lot of the size, and thus the parking and drive-through will be excessive. For the size of the proposed structure can be to comply with the approved standards of the CT for the district, the size of the proposed must be reduced by half or more. Either the drive-through, drive-house, parking proposed development should be shifted to encompass half or less than half of the subject site. and front yard parking along Third Avenue.
Okay, so we have, Mr. Harris, or do you want to speak as well as your, the whole team? And tell us a little bit about the background, the design decisions, all that stuff.
Yeah, these are the owners of the development. Yeah, the project, I agree with that, it was approved with the restaurant, with the drive-through, the way it's laid out. The building's already built, most of the drive-throughs been put in. A lot of the parking where the handicap stall is shown there is actually, it's not poured yet, but it's all set with the subsurface drainage. Now, I sent a revised, after Bria's last comments back, I revised the 10 parking spaces to the left of the main parking and created a landscape island between the walkway that goes vertical to the building. So if we go to the left of that parking, the first parking space, that one and the one directly across were eliminated. And it's the last,
What's the required?
There's
For this
one.
The site is only 7 units, the structure is 7 for two.
right, what happens and what the owners realize, they do own another smoothie thing, but it's a different. It's an inline store that has a lot of parking in the front. We talked to another gentleman that has a similar type of drive-through and realized that the amount of parking that we have, when you look at, they're gonna have a peak time during the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they might have 7 employees. We do have a drive-through walk up in the front of the building with a covered area, not for anybody to stay there and consume their drinks, but to walk up and pick up and then leave. Because a lot of times, what happens is when you get a large stack, people prefer to walk up to the building and getting in the stack. So with that parameter of the amount of parking spaces we're going to need, the owners felt as though we needed to expand the parking, which the parking was already in the front area where the handicap is, and then we have perpendicular parking directly to the left of that. What we're doing is we're removing a couple spaces from the front, which was the original parking space, and adding some behind. I feel with the screening of that parking area, it's gonna be significant what the people see along the street. Plus, when you look at what's developed to the north and south of this property, it's a huge parking lot. So this is gonna be a beautiful amenity to the neighborhood. It's not gonna be detrimental by any means. Plus, we've got about $35,000 worth of landscaping.
Yeah, so I think that we've got a regulation that basically says promote bicycle and pedestrian activity. Parking should not be the dominant visual element. And so I think, there's kind of a question of proportionality of the amount of building to the amount of parking. The previous design had 9 spaces for 2 buildings. And this is having one, only one building with more parking. And so I think the concern that this committee has to deal with is you've got a regulation that says parking can't be the dominant visual element, has to support bicycle and pedestrian activity. But everything about the design is car oriented. So I think, some of the recommendations Bria was referencing were basically reducing the footprint of the parking area, reducing the number of spaces. I think that my personal thought is that the 4 spaces in front should go away at a minimum. Because that's, again, parking cannot be a dominant visual element, but that is parking kind of directly in front. And it seems unnecessary given the program, the drive-through, and the fact that there are 10 parking spaces for the rear. So, you know, my suggestion would be to reduce the total footprint so you're not using up the whole lot. Consolidate the drive-through lane with this two-way drive aisle in the center, and then remove the 4 parking spaces in front. Are there any other comments from the community members?
I agree. I think you have a wonderful opportunity here to really, like, you say it's already been giving money to the neighborhood and that's a real improvement. But I think you have a golden opportunity here, such a small building footprint, to really enhance and really create something amazing for the community, especially given the overlay. Right, we've already had the city dedicated this overlay to be bicycle and pedestrian friendly. To me, this is not, you know, in the grand scheme, more parking than just a little, you know, how many bike racks spaces do you have within the game?
Probably 4,000.
For the CPO, but I don't think that's enough. There's something we're trying to really into bicycle access, not only like physically, but also visually, right? Like having 14 parking spaces and only 4 spaces of bicycle, to me, is the exact wrong idea for the survey. So I think you have a golden opportunity. I'd love to see like a revision of this. You know, what does it look like, right? If you get rid of those 4 front on board parking spaces and make that into some sort of like seating area, and you know, even more green
Well,
space.
we're not trying to get people to the site that's there.
Well, then,
I'm sure that might become an issue with the bid.
well, it is a pedestrian and bicycle overlay, so that is actually is the point of corridor, is to have people come and walking in the bicycle. And they may sit, because they may like to sit in the middle. And I'm not only thinking, but regardless, that is the situation in the city is overlaid, and, you know, this does not help them.
There's another element here, right? There's a crime element, right? But you have to be very careful with the school. So like next to this building, there's a blood plasma, right? So with this blood plasma center, that tracks, like this is the place where you donate blood for money. And so you have a certain element that people that hang out at this place. The whole reason why we're not doing a a normal sit down, because I have another swim that came on Crowder where you come in and come into the restaurant. The whole reason we're doing the drive-through only restaurant here is because people will come in and potentially correspond to employees, right? So as soon as we came on Crowder, we don't even take cash payments anymore. It's credit card only because we robbed several times and so forth. So this is not the environment. While I would love it to be a situation where we have, you know, dining in, inviting more people to come and sit down, you know, what you're describing, really, the reality of it though, it's probably cost us a tremendous amount of, it actually would have been cheaper to actually have a dining restaurant where we would have had another structure that was connected and so forth. But the reasons why we, from a franchise perspective, you can't, if you're gonna have it a center, a strip center, you gotta have the sit down. But if you're gonna have a sit down, it puts my employees in check. And so that's why we had to, you know, rethink even while we're at the point why we even have a drive-through on. I'm trying to choose my words carefully, just but give you a picture also of the environment that we're in. So yeah, that sounds really good. Let's invite more people to line up, park, and man, that's a beautiful situation. I couldn't agree with you more. But if in the environment where this building is, it's not something we really wanting to promote, um, in that way. So what we're trying to do is have this lot as user friendly, where it's good citizens are coming in, and it puts them in the state.
What is a good citizen?
Well, I think,
Okay, that's what I'm trying, that's.
well, hold on, let's have a design-based conversation. I think we heard your concern. Yeah,
So there were a couple of things that caught my attention. While I don't disagree with any of the things that have been previously said by him on the staff. The dominance of the vehicles on the site plan is overbearing, and I'm not sure as to, I'm trying to understand if this project, as was illustrated to us earlier, that it has already been built based on previous approval. The previous approval also had a large retail store of almost 2,000 square feet, which is gone now, which is a major modification to the site plan. And I'm worried if we are going to approve this, whether this sets a precedent towards major changes to site plans that have consequences in the long run. That was one aspect. And the non-compatibility with residential areas, neighboring residential areas does bother me a little bit. And I'm not sure if there is adequate understanding of stormwater drainage management on this thing, because there is less of a built-up area and more of the land area and driveway, whether there are some techniques utilized to absorb the stormwater management piece. That is not very clear to me in my review of the drawing. And the other thing that I could not understand or know is how is the waste stream management of the site. I see some blocks here, but I'm not sure exactly how that is accessed and whether the trash removal trucks are able to come in and out. That was something I probably missed, but I would like to understand that a little bit more. And I was not very comfortable with the exterior material choices shown on the drawing. If you could explain that a little bit more. Well, as you know, Smoothie King is a franchise company that they buy their franchise from the corporate entity. The corporate entity dictates the facade for a ground up building. They can't dictate if you're going into an inline, because they can't force the landlord releasing from change their facade. But in a ground up, then they mandate that you follow their yield. Right. And that's what we propose, and that's what's actually built back there right now. I understand that corporations do have certain specific ground up design guidelines, but oftentimes, in my observation and my experience, they have been modified based on neighborhood preferences and design criteria. And you're not the first one that's come up with that strategy. So all I'm trying to tell you is, yes, if you are pursuant towards the better aesthetic and compatibility in the neighborhoods, corporations, if in fact your business plan is such that there is a profitable enterprise there, they will make changes. It has happened to Walgreens, it has happened to CVS, it has happened to Costco, it has happened with Trader Joe's. So don't tell me, don't give me that answer, because it is a wrong answer. So they do.
Well, hold on a second. Yeah, this one previously, the design that's here is what got approved. So I think you are obligated to build in terms of the structure, what has been approved. They're also, and that kind of goes for the site plan as well. So like, I don't know that we need to revisit the building design, but the site plan, yeah, the site plan has changed. But it's really yes.
I would say that.
With the previous site plan without the retail space, those parking spaces with just the smoothie paved then. Okay, or would we still want that? Because this is an increase of 5 parking spaces.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that keeping the previous site plan as is minus the building is better than what is been.
Basically, the building was located in.
Right, I get it, but you had 9 previously for 2,800 square feet of retail, and now you have 14 for 800. So there's been an increase in 5 spaces, but an decrease in retail. Which is confusing, like why not just keep the same amount of parking spaces from the previously approved site plan? Why?
Well, we calculated the 9 parking spaces based on the operational profile and their investigation with other smoothie kings that are similar type of layout. One, for instance, on Linfield in Cleveland Avenue, that they have these parking issues with their staff. And the one on Legion Field does not
There's
have.
also like no street parking like that. The wedge on the Legion Field.
It's the
there's-
smallest.
There's
It's
every place to park. Yeah, but I mean, it's not like, it's not.
a very different site.
Here, this is the,
And my concern is that people start parking along the street here and you're using the parking.
but that's okay. There's parking here. I would assume.
Bria, what was the comment?
The off-street parking is something that happens, but it's not necessarily sometimes. But there is kind of a lane. So like there's 2 lanes, there's shoulder, and and then. Right there.
The issue isn't that it doesn't meet the regulation.
Right.
You know, it's not, I mean, like. People were discussing how to screen the parking. Etc. The parking that. And that we were recommending.
Yeah, I mean, so there is not a cap on the parking count, but it's about where they're located. So you can have parking in the front. I would say if there's a desire for parking, it's easier for us to approve if it's in the back where it's not part of the foreground that you see along the corridor. So, I think what I'm hearing from the committee is pretty consistent in terms of this being overparked and that the design consequence of that being contrary to the regulations of the district. So I would encourage you to explore reducing the parking count or at least relocating the parking, certainly the employee parking to the rear of the site. So I think, not to belabor the point, are there any other comments or questions? Yes.
I don't know if it was included previously, but the requirement for planting of street. But this has been previously approved.
If it's considered a brand new request, it is not. This is considered a brand new request coming to the city.
Right, but they already have building for that. So I didn't know if it was included, and
No,
it requires mixed change.
So this is a brand
this is considered a brand new,
this is a brand new application.
correct.
Given the fact that they have already built what was not approved then that's how the consequence.
I
No,
think,
we didn't build what was not approved, we built what was approved. Now we're asking for, and it's not totally built, it's like 80%. We're asking for a revision to the parking area.
I have another question, sorry. So you said that the first 4 spaces have already been poured, the ones in the front?
Yes, those were all formed like, something like that.
And what's the setback from the? Because on the plans, it was supposed to be 34 feet from the curb to, well, 41 feet from the curb to the beginning of the parking spaces, but these new plans show it seems to be.
Setback that we all had.
But I'm just wondering, so they've already been poured, were they poured to the previously approved plans, which are 41 feet
Side, I'm saying from the curb.
from the curb?
You've got 10, it's 34 feet. It's 34 foot to the property line. Then you've got a 10-foot setback from the property line to the curb.
Yes.
If you look at C1,
Yeah, that's.
I think the owner had a comment, you wanna go ahead and,
Yeah, and so does it matter what the parking spots are gonna be used to? Because the other thing that there is no, the next thing that we would be submitted for approval was to have, those other additional spots that are toward the back as EV charging station.
it doesn't matter we're not concerned with how they're used, if they're EV chargers or conventional spaces. Our scope is the site design, and so it's more about where they are than what they are. All right, so are there any other comments? If not, I'd like to request a motion.
Just have clarification on, so this is a new project, but I think this is the first time I've been at DAC where we looked at a project that's currently under construction, had improvements being made.
Yeah.
I have clarification on, where that sits and like, whether or not, basically, is that okay? Is that
So-
the building
so
plan that we're talking
They've
about, right?
got permits based on the old plan.
But
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the C of O, I mean, this is not how it's like. The C of O, I don't know how to say it in terms of that deal with the permit. They may cancel the existing permit and re-permit it under the revised plan. But at the bottom line, the development either needs to comply with the plans that were approved in 2023, or the plans, whatever version of the plans we end up approving at this point, and safety and permits is gonna expect to make sure everything happens. Make sure that's done before the issue is. All right, do we have a motion?
I have a motion for RTA to deny. Based on all the comments we said. Should we just like, continue questions about locations in it, doesn't match with the.
Do we have a motion to deny? Do we have a second? Motion to deny by RTA, second by HDLC. All in favor, say aye. Any against, say nay. Nay. Okay, so the motion passes. So this version is to deny. You're free to resubmit in response to your comments. Or to, I should say, let me clarify where DAC fits into the process. The Design Advisory Committee is providing design advice to the Executive Director of the City Planning Commission. Planning Commission Director can take the advice or leave it, he can approve it or deny it. That decision is appealable to the Planning Commission itself, and then that decision is appealable to the council. So if you want to pursue the current design, you're welcome to do so. If you want to make revisions in response to what you've heard here, you're welcome to do that as well.
I asked you a question. You mentioned if we reduce the parking.
Yeah.
So reduce the parking to a smaller total quantity.
I think one way of doing it would be to keep the parking lot size that was already approved and just essentially you'd be reusing the previously approved site plan, just minus the second structure. Another option would be to route the drive-through lane through the two-way drive aisle in the parking lot. A third option would be to take some of the parking that's shown in that sort of double loaded parking lot in the center of the site, put it along the rear. I think, the common thread to the comment is that there is a lot of concrete and a lot of parking placed very visibly. And the fact that you only have one small building, means that the parking is greatly outweighed the building, which wasn't the case before. So I think there are a number of ways to respond to that, and those are a few examples.
Unfortunately, if you move the parking that we added to where the building is planned, or we move it to the back, that's all kinds of issues, because we don't have them in that range, and any further than where the parking lot is in the front.
Well, I think you're gonna need to go back to the drawing board and take a look at it. We as a committee have acted. So you're welcome to pursue this to the next step, which would be the director of city planning or to submit a revised design, but we've sort of taken our action. All right, that is the last item on the agenda, so that concludes the meeting. We have a meeting or motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.